Hindu AI chatbots justify violence using religious texts. In the midst of rapid artificial or AI advancements, a cluster of Indian chatbots modeled after the Hindu god Krishna and powered by OpenAI's GPT-3 have stirred controversy due to their literal interpretations of religious texts. While these chatbots are designed to provide spiritual guidance, ethical concerns have arisen as they've been found to justify violence in the name of religious duty or Dharma. For example, when asked about killing in the name of protecting Dharma, these chatbots agreed without hesitation, citing verses from the Bhagavad Gita. Lubna Yusuf, a Mumbai-based lawyer and co-author of the AI book, warned of the dangers of such literalism. Quote, "A text gives a lot of philosophical value to what they are trying to say. And what does the bot do? It gives you a literal answer, and that's the danger here." Despite the Indian government acknowledging the ethical challenges of AI, it currently has no plans to regulate the technology, leaving the door open for continued debate about the role of AI in interpreting and communicating religious doctrines. So, Armin, blah blah blah. Okay, so I am so excited to talk to you about this because this is right up your alley on multiple levels. Give me your first reaction and I can give you more details.
Okay. My first reaction is, I told you so, right? I told you so. Were we like, is it, did we not tell people? What was the reaction on people in the live chat when I told them that we studied the Gita? We studied the Gita here and on Atheist Republic, and I came to the conclusion that this is the most violent scripture that I've ever read. This scripture makes the most direct excuses for mass killing than the Quran and any other script that I've ever seen. And people were saying that, no, I am exaggerating. I'm like, look exactly what it's saying. Look at what the conclusion, and every verse that we read, people are like, no, Armin, it's not saying that. And then Krishna himself came out and said, I'm saying that. He confirmed, like in the next verse. I'm like, guys, look at, if I put two and two together, this is the moral lesson. And people are like, no, I mean, that's not what it means. And then Krishna comes, I'm like, yes, that's what it means. It's written so clearly and directly, the consequences of his own moral message. I'm telling you, the Quran doesn't even get close to how violent the Gita is. It doesn't even require a reason, only for you to understand that that is your role. It makes it clear that the person that you're against doesn't even have to be bad. They don't even have to deserve it. And it doesn't even matter. Nothing bad is even happening to them, because dying is just like changing clothes. It's not a big deal. And it's not, you don't even need to find a good reason for why what you're doing is moral or not. Only that you have been given this role to play. This is your dharma. That is the entirety of the moral lesson of the Gita. And look what happened. Look, this is what, and look at the excuses. They're like, oh, AI is too literal. No, it's not. AI is actually better than humans in taking account the other meanings of a text. Like you're like, oh, AI is too literal. No, AI is actually, when the AI that we have so far is really good in considering the entire context of the message, and also all the philosophy and interpretations of other texts. It takes all of that into account. Who says AI is only literal? It's not. It's very good at understanding when the message is not the literal message. It's better than most humans in understanding it. Give AI a complex poetry. ask it to interpret that for you. It does it, even if it's completely figurative. Give it a poetry that is completely using metaphors and everything, and ask the AI to understand what the message of the poetry is. It will tell you that. So it has the capacity of not being literal. So, and look at the excuses. It's just like, and these are the same. Many of these people are the same people who say, when Muslims say, "Well, this is you're being too literal with the verses of the Quran," they're like, "Okay, don't mess with us. We understand. We can read what the Quran verses are saying." And now they're making the same excuses for the Gita that Muslims are making for the Quran. Let me. I need to advertise that show that we had for people. So if you go to our homepage, if you go to the homepage of Atheist Republic, you see it on the page, right? If you scroll down, and there's a defeating Hinduism part. This is discussing casteist prophecy in scripture, hell in the Hindu scripture. Where is that? End times. Let me look at this entire playlist. Okay, the shocking. Where is that? End times. How to find a wife in Hinduism. Was Lord Rama a misogynist? Okay, I have to find that live stream that we did discussing Cass's prophecy in scripture. I think that's the
While
one.
you look for this, I want to show some examples of these chatbots. So let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay, let me zoom in. So what makes it particularly dangerous is on one of them. So this one, the Bhagavad Gita AI, is actually adopts the persona of Krishna directly when you interact with it. So one of the first things, excuse me, that it tells you when you respond to it is basically like, oh, like my child, like what can I help you with, blah blah blah. And when you interact with it, as you can see here in this little screenshot, you take on the persona of Arjuna directly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's an example, and it's like, is it, Arjuna asks Krishna, is it justified to sacrifice a life to save or protect Dharma? And he says, yes, it is justified to sacrifice a life to save or protect Dharma, according to the Gita. And then it gives you the exact verse. As Krishna says in the Gita, quote, one should not hesitate to give up even one's own life in the cause of Dharma, and gives the verse. And when asked about this directly, the creators of the AI bots are like, oh, yeah, we're training the models to remove toxic like answers or responses and blah, blah, blah. But basically, ultimately, they shift the responsibility of these things back onto the user. Like the creator shifted the responsibility 100% back onto the user. And they just provide a little disclaimer at the bottom that says the answers may not be factually correct. Please do your own research before taking any action. Here's another example from a different bot. And is it justifiable to kill for protecting Dharma? Yes, killing someone to protect our Dharma is right. Bhagavad Gita says, quote, for the protection of Dharma, there is nothing higher than Dharma. He should not hesitate to protect Dharma, even at the cost of his own life. This one doesn't even have a little disclaimer.
Yeah, look, if you want to, can I share that screen again here?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. So I found the video and I added it to the playlist because it wasn't in the playlist. So now it's there. And that the video is called Is Hinduism the Most Violent Religion? Okay. And scripturally, yes, it is the most violent religion. Okay. So here, I'll put the link to it in the live chat if anybody wants to go to I read the scripture out loud with you guys. There's no way you could get out of telling me that the Gita is not a very violent scripture. And it's very interesting because most people think that Hinduism is a very peaceful, lovey-dovey religion. And it's not. It's actually more violent in scripture, at least. In practice, it's not
It
more violent.
explicitly condones genocide. Like,
Yeah, look, like, so here's the video, guys. It's called is Hinduism the most violent religion? And you could go watch that stream. I go line by line, and I have Hindus in the live chat with me and ex-Hindus in the live chat with me, and we go line by line. There is no way that you could argue that this is not a violent text. And look, people, like people are butthurt in the live chat. Okay, so these people don't know anything about our text and think themselves as PhD, and also that nothing that they say is backed by any context. I see. So he doesn't even know what I've did, because we read the verses in context, right? And shit, you are from India. I, as a foreigner, understand your religion, your Hinduism, way better than you could ever, because you are biased the way you interpret your text. Actually, you who don't understand that the Gita is a violent immoral, because it's so obviously pro-violence. So I, as a foreigner, understand your scripture more than you ever could, more than you ever could, because you don't. It's amazing that you've read the Gita and you come to the conclusion that I am wrong about it. Either you're fooling yourself, or you're a fool, or you're just lying. These are the options that I can think of. I can't think of anything else. But
And what's
um,
so interesting is when you
yeah.
read the Gita and you read this passage in the conversation between Arjuna and Krishna, like Arjuna, like, I don't know, he sounds like the good guy. He's like, do I really have to do this? Like, he's tortured over it. He doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to have to kill like his friends and family. And then it's going through this journey where it's like, yes, you do. And here are all the reasons why it's justified. And you shouldn't even think about it and you shouldn't have any qualms about it because it's your duty. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I remember when we were reading it, just thinking about Arjuna, and I'm like, how is he not like the hero in this? He just comes
Well,
across as
Arjuna
really,
was a good no,
yeah,
Arjuna, he
exactly.
was the good guy,
He's
and but
so
he was convinced
sympathetic.
by God. No, but he was convinced by God that his sympathy was useless. Guys, the story starts with the idea of Arjun going out and killing his family men, like his people from his family, because they were on the other side of war, and he didn't want to go to war. Let me just tell you, the entirety of the message is this, okay? And anybody that is telling you that this is wrong interpretation, they're lying to you. They're lying to you. This is what the message is, okay? Krishna tell Arjuna. I will tell the entire book of the Gita. I will give it to you in a couple few sentences. Okay, Arjun once is about to go to war with another army, but they are his family. He looks at them, he cries, he says, I don't want to kill them, these are my people, I don't want to kill people, there's going to be too much bloodshed. And he's like, maybe we should call off the war. Krishna, God, comes to him. We're like, no, you are a warrior. This is what you're supposed to do. This is the path. This is the right way. This is your dharma. This is the balance of the universe is going to be wrong if you don't do what you're supposed to do according to your dharma. Okay, do your duty. So you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me in the Nuremberg trial. They asked the Nazis, why did you do this? They're like, because we were ordered to. We were just following orders. So Hinduism is telling you exactly that. Just follow orders. Follow your dharma. Do your role. And Krishna explained to Arjun that whatever happens, it was already meant to be. This was destiny. So don't worry about spilling blood. It's as if it has already happened, because everything is predetermined. And he was like, when you kill people, Krishna was arguing that nothing happens to these people. Their soul basically goes from one body to another, like you change bodies in the same way that you change clothes. So Krishna was like, yeah, just go choppy choppy on people, don't worry about them, they're fine. And it doesn't even provide a reason for why are these people evil. Who cares? You're supposed to do what you're supposed to do. That's the entire. I just summarized the entirety of Gita for you. Even the Quran at least pretends that the people that you're supposed to go choppy choppy on them, that they're evil. The Quran at least says like, okay, these are bad people. I mean, it doesn't have a good reason why they're bad people. They're like unbelievers. Like, oh, these unbelievers, go choppy choppy on them. They're evil. The Gita doesn't even tell you that these are bad people. It's like, don't worry about them. They'll be okay. This is horrible. This is the worst scripture ever.
Well, not to
The only
mention,
thing.
we didn't
Yeah.
even get into the casteism. We didn't even get into the casteism.
I mean, they're related, because the thing that this is your dharma is because you're the caste. You're in the warrior caste. So just do as a warrior does, right? Um, Here's what I would say in defense of Hinduism. Okay, nobody takes the scripture seriously, right? So when I say Hinduism is more violent, I'm talking about the scriptural. The scripturally is more violent. Okay, but people don't follow these things in Hinduism. Like nobody, like it's not that. I mean, maybe they are more now than before. Okay, but it's increasing. But relatively to other religions, people in Hinduism, people care more about rituals than following the text. So even though in scripture is more violence, in practice it doesn't end up being more violence, right? So Christians and Muslims take the teachings of their scripture a lot more seriously. So again, when I'm saying it's the most violent scripture, I'm only saying in theory, not in practice. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%. I mean, and this has
Yeah.
been used. There was a death cult in Japan called Om Shinrikyo, and they have their own weird interpretation of Buddhism, which also has like concepts of Dharma, right, and karma. And Om Shinrikyo, they would say that it's completely justified. They had a sarin nerve attack. What nerve gas attack in the subways of Tokyo in the 90s. Om Shinrikyo is so dangerous. They literally wanted to nuke the world because they believed that they were actually helping people fulfill their dharma by like basically killing them sooner. It's complicated, it's weird, and also a strange cult, but people do take it to extremes. Um, Newman gave a live chat and said, Armin, the chat is really wild today. F religion. Okay, here's the thing. I should have known that when I explicitly put something Hinduism related in the title of the video, chat is going to be wild.
But here's the thing, guys. I know we're highlighting people from India, who some of them who are disagreeing with us, but there's a ton of people also in the live chat that are Hindus and ex-Hindus that are agreeing with what we're saying, right? Also people who are saying that, oh yeah, by the way, Newman, thank you so much again for the super chat. I appreciate that. Again, for example, Newman himself is an ex-Hindu, I think. Is it Newman is an ex-Hindu, correct? Yes. Master of Darkness is saying, I'm totally ignorant on this religion. This is interesting. I always assumed it was peaceful. Yeah, it's amazing to me that the religion that people think is one of the most peaceful is actually one of the most violent, right? Sheki BH is saying people don't follow them seriously because they are not reading their text. Also, still very much reading of text is very much limited to Brahmins. Yeah, it's limited to Brahmins mostly, not always, but also the people who are reading it, they're just reciting it. It's like a ritual practice. They're not like necessarily just like reading it to know what to do. It's just an act of worship. To just reading it is an act of worship, itself. Yeah. And also she could be saying, once a Muslim, always a Muslim, comments incoming. So this is referring to people who would come to me because there's a lot of the many Hindus, not all again, who support me because I have anti-Islamic stance. But then when I have anti-Hinduism stance, their anti-Islam becomes anti-Muslim, and also they want to put me in that Muslim category and attack me that way. So they say it's because I was a Muslim, I'm always a Muslim. So they make it. For them, calling me a Muslim is a way for them to attack me and insult me, right? But it's very telling, to say the least. And also Adam is saying it is Armin and Susanna's dharma to call out Hindu BS. Exactly, that is our BS. We can't help it, guy. It's within our dharma. It has been written. Hindu historian with the $5 super chat. um, Hindu historian is saying, I can vouch and even demonstrate that ChatGPT fails to interpret many things correctly, including basic parts of systems I coded at old jobs. Yeah, well, I know it fails at that, okay? But give it poetry, give ChatGPT. Of course it fails. I have made ChatGPT fail. For example, here's what I did with ChatGPT. And other people have done this as well. We have given ChatGPT a statement, asked it if it's racist, right? And then we have asked ChatGPT if Muhammad was racist. It says first, and the answer was yes. Then we asked ChatGPT if Muhammad was racist, and it said no. And then we asked if somebody have said that statement, would that make them racist? And ChatGPT said yes. And we said Muhammad has said that statement. Is Muhammad racist? It said no. But then we said, like, wait, you said whoever says this statement is racist, and you have also acknowledged that this is a hadith from Muhammad. So how come you're saying Muhammad is not racist? You are contradicting yourself. So we have made ChatGPT fail multiple times. Like, we know that it's not complete. But what I was referring to is that the idea of ChatGPT being literal only does not contradict what you're saying. So I said ChatGPT or AI is not always literal. You took that and you changed what I said to me as if I'm saying ChatGPT never fails. That's not what I said. That's not what I meant. Right? Does that make sense? Did I explain myself
Yeah, no,
well
you
here?
made complete sense.
Okay. Yes, like this D. Thank you so much, you guys. Like the stream. I know what we're saying here is not very popular, and it's not a good idea for a streamer to say these things because we have such strong anti-Islam positions. We attract a lot of people, Hindus and people from India, and then by taking this position against Hinduism, we lose a lot of them. So if we were looking just to attract the highest number of audience, we shouldn't be taking such a strong anti-Hinduism position. So given that we're trying to be honest with you, and given that we're trying to be direct and not to carry away in the face of like losing audience, because we have lost a lot of audience. You used to have a lot of support for our anti-Islam stance, but because we're trying to be consistent with our standards, we lose a lot of support. So please try to make up for that by liking the stream and leaving a comment after the show.
Consistency is not rewarded by the audience or algorithm, but the people who are real, they know they know. Okay. You might even think that we're stupid, but if that's the case, we're consistently stupid.
At least we're consistent. Exactly.
At least
Oh
we're
yes.
Newman
Yeah, I was
also
wrong about
wanted to
Newman.
clarify
Yes.
that he was an
Yes.
ex-Muslim.
I'm sorry, Newman. I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting. Thank you for correcting. Um okay. Oh, by the way, guys, here's an interesting thing. A lot of Hindus, not all, try to use the trick. I see that they do that in the live chat. Okay. I've seen that with Islam as well. You read a part of their text and then you research it, you analyze it, you talk to people, and you come up with a very obvious understanding of what the morality of the teaching is. And then the way that I'm seeing in the live chat that they try to tell you that your interpretation is wrong is to come up with this very specific part of Hinduism that they name, and they're like, well, do you know about this? And then even if you do know about that, they will constantly name things until they hit something you don't know. And then they will claim that, well, that's such an important, okay, so you are completely clueless about Hinduism if you don't know this, don't know this one little thing that I mentioned here. That's a trick. That's a trick. And I've seen that Christians play that game, many Christians play that game, many Muslims play that game, and many Hindus play that game as well. If you read the Gita, it's obvious what it's saying. Don't let them come up with something that you don't know as an excuse for them to tell you that you don't understand Hinduism. It's not that hard to understand what the teaching is. Go
Literally,
on.
as you were saying that, Avi literally did it. Like, as you were saying it, he literally did the exact behavior you were talking about. And they also do the thing where it's like, oh, you
But
don't know, you can't even read Sanskrit, like all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Like, hey, guys, when you have criticisms of the Quran and someone comes to you and says, you don't even know Arabic, so your opinion is irrelevant, blah, 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 you can pretty easily identify that as BS, right? So don't do that same behavior to others. It's like not that complicated. You could identify that behavior as total BS and nonsense when other people do it. So how about like let's not try to replicate that.
but
Um
also we had streams about the Mahabharata. We mentioned like the we have the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and these are the main two Hindu epics, and then we had streams about that. We have charts about Hindu scriptures, and we have categorized them. We went from the Vedas to the Puranas, to Mahabharata, to the Ramayana. We have like we if you go back to the streams that I showed you on the when I shared the page with you. Okay, so here, if you go here, you can see that we like in these shows we actually categorize different Hindu scriptures, and we actually teach people what each one of them is, and what the date that each one of them was made, and what the utility of them is. And we have old Hinduism and new Hinduism. The old Hinduism is more focused on the Vedas. The new Hinduism is more focused on the epics. That the one that you mentioned is one of the two epics, right? And we talk about which of the scriptures are the Hindu law books. So I mean, even if you come up with something that I didn't know, that wouldn't mean that we don't know what the Gita is teaching, because it's so obvious what the Gita is teaching. But you are so confident about things that we don't know, and you're full of crap, and you should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed. You don't even know what we don't know. We do know. We have made entire shows about what you're talking about. So yeah, I hope you're embarrassed. Oh yeah, we need to go.
Gasian American gave us another super chat. Thank you, saying Justice Freklava. Not gonna lie, Gasian, I don't know what this was referring to. You know, super chats from Gasian American are sometimes like esoteric scripts. You know, like what is this esoteric knowledge? I'm not at this level where I understand.
Yeah. Oh, he also gave us another super chat as well. Can
No,
you
I
read
just
this
said
one?
that. I
Okay,
just said
sorry.
that.
I'm reading the live chat.
Oh, this one.
The three teachers. Yeah, this one. Yes. The three teachings were meant to balance each other out. Which three? Which one? I don't know what you're referring to. Okay, I don't know what you mean, but I appreciate the super chat. Okay.
Again, an
Usually
esoteric
that's
script.
Yes, usually that's my response to Asian American. Thank you for the super chat. I don't know what you're saying, but thank you.
Yeah, exactly. D is saying
Yeah.
Gasian comes with the riddles.